Part 231. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 2302. Yesterday was Xiang Yun's birthday. Zhang Xiangbei and the others wanted to celebrate Xiang Yun's birthday. There was no place to go in Kayangshong. Zhou Ruyi suggested going to Haikan. Zhang Xiangbei thought about how hard everyone had worked during this period. Since I had had a rest, I thought I would take this opportunity to reward everyone, so I agreed. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the two cars set off towards Haikan. When they arrived in Haikan, they first went to the Kayan King Food Village on the edge of Jinyi Yuling Park. They parked the car in the parking lot, and Bao Tianben took them to the ordering area to order. The ordering area was very large, like a market, with horizontal and vertical passages in the middle. On both sides of the passage, there were seafood pools, each with glass. In the pond, there is an area for fresh seafood and chilled seafood. Those fish and shellfish that cannot be kept alive are here. There is also a special cold dish area, a meat area, a poultry area, a vegetable area with various wild vegetables specially picked from Wuzishan, and a variety of snack areas. The Kayan King Food Village is large in scale and is a garden-style hotel. The hotel has both a hall for dining in and an open-air one. There are tables scattered among the woods and flowers, as well as four-cornered wooden pavilions. There is a dining table in the middle of the pavilion, surrounded by curtains, which can block light and wind, as well as light rain. In the evening when the weather is nice, the curtains around the pavilion are lifted to allow ventilation from all sides. It is very comfortable to sit inside and eat and drink. In Haikan in December, the temperature is 15 or 16 degrees, which is already a bit cold for the locals, but for people like Zhang Xiangbei and others who have traveled from the mainland, it is just right. They chose a pavilion and sat there drinking, watching the wind blowing and swaying the trees outside the pavilion, and listening to the voices of various people talking from all around. It was really hard to hear the voices but not see the people. The main specialty of Kayan King Food Village is Hainanese cuisine. There are 4 treasures in Hainanese cuisine, that is, chicken, duck, sheep, and crab. The chicken is Wenchang chicken, the duck is Jiaji duck, the sheep is Dong goat, and the crab is heel crab. Is also a must-order dish here. In addition, roasted suckling pig and Hainanese noodles are also indispensable dishes here. Bao Tianben also ordered sashimi lobster and steamed grouper, boiled shrimp and arm-sized pipi shrimp, charcoal grilled oysters and spicy stir-fried dongfeng snails, as well as coconut cake and coconut rice. Coconut rice is made by stuffing glutinous rice into the inner shell of a coconut, steaming it, and then using a knife to cut it into pieces like a melon. It tastes delicious in your mouth. The white coconut cake is cut into pieces, like tofu. The waiter brought a plate with a burnt yellow ball as big as a basketball. Zhang Xiangbei and the others looked at it in wonder, not knowing what it was. Bao Tianben told them that it was a big fried dumpling. Among the people present, only the old man Gu Gong was there, and he told them that the big jiandui is actually a sesame ball, which is empty. The key to making a jiandui is that when frying it, you can't bury it completely in the oil pan. Inside, it floats on the oil pan, and the chef has to roll it while frying to ensure that every part is crispy but not burnt. Zhou Ruyi and Sun Xiangyang, when you were in Guangdong, didn't you eat jiandui? The consultant asked Zhou Ruyi and Sun Xiangyang. No, I've never seen anything like that before, Zhou Ruyi said. That's still too short a time. Jiandui is a snack in Guangdong and Fujian. This one is still small. I was in Shantou and saw a jiandui with a diameter of more than 1 meter. That one is called a big jiandui, and the fried one is called a big one. It requires craftsmanship. During the frying process, the frying pile will burst and you have to find a way to repair it, Gu Gong said. It's true that no matter what food you eat, it can't escape the eyes of you, Gu Gong Bao Tianben said. Did this come from overseas? Zhang Xiangbei asked after hearing about Guangdong and Fujian. Probably not. If it is, it was spread a long time ago. Chu Dejin, a writer in the late Ming and early Qing dynasties, recorded it in Guangdong News, saying, "The custom in Guangzhou is to use fierce fire to open the glutinous valley. It's called popcorn, and it's the stuffing of fried dumplings. For fried dumplings, glutinous flour is used to make large and small rounds, and fried in oil. It's used to offer sacrifices to ancestors and as gifts to relatives and friends. This is the fried dumplings we're talking about." In the late Qing dynasty and the early Republic of China, there was a poem called Yang Chen Bamboo Branch Poems, which also included the line of bead boxes painted with gold and red strings, "And I call my maid to send Jiandui to celebrate the New Year." It can be seen that Jiandui was already regarded as a good gift during the New Year. Gu Gong quoted from scriptures and spoke, and the people listening kept nodding and said to Evian, "How can you eat such a big ball?" Gu Gong smiled and said, "Come on, let's all put our chopsticks on this ball. I'll count 1, 2, 3, and we'll stick it in together, and then we'll share it." When everyone heard this, they all became interested. They stood up and put the tips of their chopsticks on the sphere. Gu Gong counted 1, 2, 3, and everyone poked the chopsticks in together. There was a soft pop sound, and a burst of hot air and glutinous rice. The aroma of the food rose from there. It turned out to be a big spherical fried pile, which instantly fell apart and broke into pieces. Everyone picked it up and put it in their mouths, shouting that it was delicious. After dinner at Qianqing, they went to the nightclub. Bao Tianbin had reserved the booth for a long time. When they arrived, the booth next door was already occupied, including Gongzi and his group, who were playing nonsense. Talking about it, "I don't know where I found a fool to pay the bill tonight." This fool was chatting with the young master about his own affairs. The music in the hall was very loud. In order to let the young master hear what he was saying clearly, the man leaned very close, his head almost touched the young master's head, and sprayed out every word. Young master was lying there on his back, as if avoiding this guy's spit. He had his legs crossed, and the raised foot was already dangling on the coffee table. He was holding a girl in his right hand, he was holding a cigarette in the right corner of his mouth, as if it was stuck to his lips, and he didn't need to hold it with his fingers. When he opened and closed it while talking, the cigarette did not fall off. The man finally explained his story clearly and stared at the young master eagerly. The young master frowned and made a tisk sound in his mouth. He looked sideways at this guy and muttered something. "What, young master, what did you say?" this guy shouted loudly without hearing what young master was saying. A young man sitting next to him quickly said, "Master said, you can't handle such a trivial matter, why do you still want to come to him?" The guy quickly smiled and said, "What is a small matter to you is a big deal to me." The young man sitting next to him quickly helped him and said to young master, "Sir, this is my brother. For my sake, you must help him." The guy nodded repeatedly on the side. Young master said tisk again, raised his hand, pointed at the young man and said, "Okay, just this once, I'll make a call tomorrow and don't bring any humming mess next time." Upon hearing this, the guy laughed even though he had been classified as a mess by the Gongzi. The young man said, "Okay, there is no next time, that is, for the sake of being a brother, I will come to beg you to drink and drink." The guy quickly agreed and said, "Yeah, let's drink." The young man leaned into his ear and said to him, "Young master only drinks paradise." "Yes, yes," the guy said quickly. As soon as Zhang Xiangbei and the others sat down, the young master immediately came over with a liquor license and asked them to order drinks. Zhang Xiangbei took it over. The first page was Hennessy Richard. Zhang Xiangbei pointed with his finger and said, "That's it, 3 sticks." The young master's eyes widened, he looked at Zhang Xiangbei and asked, "Sir, are you sure?" Zhang Xiangbei smiled, and Zhou Ruyi scolded from the side, Sure, sure, do you want me to swipe my card first? The young master quickly said, no, no need. Taking the liquor license, he ran away. Xiang Evian asked, what did you order? Richard Chouruyi said. Xiang Evian quickly said, it's too expensive. No, if it's too expensive, don't drink it. If Zhang Xiangbei is stingy and refuses to pay, then I'll buy it, Chouruyi said. Ding Mianli quickly said to Xiang Yun, we can't keep up with their rich guys' thinking, so we just sit back and obey. Gu Gong also said, Xiang Yun, take this opportunity to kill you as hard as I can. When we go out, this guy is reluctant to buy business class. He asked me, a fat man, to go to economy class with him. When we get here, he is so generous, don't miss it. Everyone laughed, and Zhang Xiangbei cursed, can this be the same? Flying is a tolerance, and tolerances have their own standards. This is play, and there is a way to play. The Hennessy Richard here was priced at 25,880 apiece. Zhang Xiangbei ordered 3 of them at once. No wonder the young master's eyes widened. There was a commotion in the hall. A group of people came out of the hall. The princess in a mini-skirt who was walking at the front held a light sign in her hand. The words on the light sign were Hennessy Paradise. She followed by a young man, holding a tray, in the tray is a bottle of Hennessy Paradise. Behind the young master, there was another princess. The princess was holding a Hennessy Paradise light sign in her hand, followed by the young master holding the wine. The 4 people walked through the hall and walked toward this side. The people who were twisting their waists and shaking their hands and buttocks all moved aside. The DJ on the stage saw this and immediately changed to March of Drasky. We walked to the majestic music all the way to the Gongzi and their booth. Everyone looked towards that booth. The voices of the men and women in that booth suddenly became louder, suppressing the voices from other booths. I'll go, damn, there's so much drama even though we're having a drink, you're such a drama queen, Chouruyi cursed. The price of Hennessy Paradise here is 6,800 for 1 piece, and 2 Paradise for 13,600. Why don't you allow people to perform it? As soon as Chouruyi finished speaking, the sound of gongs was heard from that corner. Then, a larger team appeared. A young man walking at the front was holding a gong in his hand and beating the gongs. He was followed by a princess holding a light sign with the words Hennessy Richard on it, followed by a young master holding a bottle of Hennessy Richard on a tray, and then another the princess holding the lantern sign and the young man holding the wine, and then another couple. There was a real commotion in the hall. Everyone stopped twisting their butts and followed the team with their eyes. 3 bottles of Hennessy Richard cost nearly 80,000 yuan. Who is coming? Zhang Xiangbei saw this mighty team coming towards him, and everyone's eyes followed them. Zhang Xiangbei cursed. Mom. At this time, the booth next door, which had been noisy just now, suddenly fell into silence, everyone closed their mouths, and the young master's face became ugly. Thank you Brokeback Mountain for the reward of 2 fishes. Thank you for your monthly votes from Angle and Badu, Lulu 6717p11, On the Road 2006, Humorous Tribe, Zipanjiang 1, End How, Purple Ha, Guilty Orchid Finger, Wu Family Courtyard, Book Friends 2020091001082765, Book Friends 20180808030256355047, Book Friends 201906210833408848. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Niang. Chapter 2303. The wine delivery team marched to Zhang Xiangbei's booth. The leading princess wanted to say something else. Zhang Xiangbei quickly waved to them and said thank you, that's all, we can do it ourselves. He was anxious to drive them away and drive away the eyes that followed them. Zhang Xiangbei didn't want to be in this kind of limelight. Gu Gong looked at his embarrassment and laughed on the side. He said, "Interesting, this time the rich second generation appears." The young master and the princesses were still standing there, wondering what Zhang Xiangbei meant. Zhang Xiangbei said, "Okay, thank you, please go back. We just want to drink quietly, and we can serve ourselves." Those people understood and then left with the light sign. Sun Xiangyang opened a bottle of Hennessy Richard, poured it into a decanter, and then put the decanter into an ice bucket to wake up. Zhang Xiangbei said, "Wake up, I want to mix it with Sprite." Sun Xiangyang rolled his eyes at him and said, "Then don't order this, just order the oak barrel worth 200 yuan. They were drinking and chatting, but the booth next door was completely silent. Everyone had a paradigm in front of them, but no one moved it. The young master kept his face livid. He didn't speak, and the others didn't. It's hard to say anything. Everyone felt that just now, their faces fell to the ground. Why were the voices of these guys next door so harsh? They are so happy, they are obviously here to cause trouble. The most embarrassing thing is the guy who came to see young master for business. He knows that at this time, the best way to regain face is to order 4 humming bottles of Hennessy Richard to suppress the arrogance of the mainland guys next door. But he was not strong enough, so he ordered these 2 bottles of Paradin with grit and determination. The DJ played Dudu Mouth, and Zhou Ruyi and Xiang Evian said, "Let's go dance." When Zhou Ruyi stood up, she pulled Sun Xiangyang up, and Sun Xiangyang pulled Ding Mianli up again. The 4 of them went over to dance. In the booth next door, young master saw Sun Xiangyang and the others standing up, so he stood up too, and the others seeing him stand up, he stood up too. "Come on, let's go dance too." Young master raised his head and said to those guys. Zhang Xiangbei, Gu Gong, and Bao Tianbin were sitting here. They didn't go to dance. Gu Gong took a sip of wine and said, "To be honest, I still don't think it's worth it. How about we build a vineyard on the ranch and grow our own grapes to make wine?" Zhang Xiangbei and Bao Tianbin laughed, and Bao Tianbin said, "It is best to build another water plant and we can make water ourselves. Build another 2 acres of rice fields, and we will plant and grind rice ourselves," Zhang Xiangbei said, and he and Bao Tianbin laughed again. Gu Gong also smiled. Before the song Dudu Mouth was finished, an argument broke out among the dancing crowd. Zhang Xiangbei heard what seemed to be Zhou Ruyi and Xiang Yun's screams. He stood up and ran towards the place where the sound came from. Gu Gong and Bao Tianbin also followed him. There was already a mess over there. 3 people squeezed through the crowd and saw Ding Mianli lying on the ground with a guy riding on him. The Gongzi grabbed Sun Xianjiang's collar with one hand and was fanning Sun Xiangyang. Slap! Sun Xiangyang wanted to fight back, but his hands were tightly grabbed by the young man and the guy who came to Gongzi to do something. Xiang Yun and Zhou Ruyi also struggled with 3 women. Bao Tianbin immediately rushed to the man riding on Ding Miyulai. Gu Gong held his fist and hit the guy holding Sun Xiangyang on the back of the head. Zhang Xiangbei grabbed the Gongzi hand, and the Gongzi turned his head. Seeing that it was Zhang Xiangbei, he cursed. "I'm just looking for the stickhead of yours and take him down." There were 2 people on the side, and they rushed towards Zhang Xiangbei. The Gongzi let go of Sun Xiangyang, and slapped Zhang Xiangbei. Zhang Xiangbei's fist was faster than his, and before the slap could reach him, he hit Zhang Xiangbei with a straight blow. The punch had already hit the bridge of his nose, and young master fell backward with a muffled sound. When Zhang Xiangbei retracted his fist, he swung his shoulder to the right and hit another person who was rushing toward him with his elbow. Then he released his grip on the left hand of young master and hit him again with a backhand swing. One person. With the help of Gu Gong, Sun Xiangyang broke free and started to threaten, and everyone fought together. After all, Zhang Xiangbei and the others are from out of town and don't know anyone here. Young master spends time here every day, and there are always some people who know him and come up to help. Fortunately, Zhang Xiangbei punched and kicked almost one at a time, and suddenly they couldn't get close. Bao Tianbin and Ding managed to rescue Zhou Ruyi and Xiang Yun, and Zhang Xiangbei shouted, "Stand behind us, fatty, and guard that side." Sun Xiangyang agreed, and Gu Gong didn't know when or where he took two large blue ribbon wine bottles in his hands and shouted, "I'll come too." He and Sun Xiangyang, two fat men, stood together. Bao Tianbin suddenly woke up and realized that they were regarded as outsiders. He shouted loudly in Hainan dialect, meaning whoever dares to move, I promise to find you one by one. At this time, several 110 police cars had already arrived at the door. Next, the injured were sent to the hospital, while the uninjured, regardless of gender, were taken to the Longhai police station by 110 police cars. Yilin is on duty tonight. Every time it is his turn to be on duty, after 12 o'clock in the evening, Yilin is used to driving around to each police station below to randomly check their arrival status. He also talks to his colleagues below. Let's chat and learn a little bit about the situation at the grassroots level. Yilin drove to the Longhai police station and found that it was particularly lively today. The hall was brightly lit, and in every office and conference room, people were taking notes separately. Seeing Yilin arriving, an auxiliary police officer immediately went to call the director. The director quickly ran over. Yilin asked what happened. The director said that two groups of people drank too much and got into a fight at the nightclub. They were sent to 110 and are now taking notes. Is anyone injured? Yilin asked. Yes, 4 of them have been sent to the hospital, the director said. Yilin nodded and asked, who are the people fighting? On one side, they seem to be from Zhejiang, and on the other side, they are locals from Haikan, namely the Gongzi and the others, the director said. Yilin frowned when he heard young master and asked, why is it him again? Young master is already a regular visitor to the police station in their jurisdiction. He has been in and out of here countless times. The director smiled and said. But he is not here today. He is lying in the hospital with his nose broken. Yilin looked at the director, who immediately stopped smiling. However, Yilin couldn't help laughing. He shook his head and said, don't be too happy too early, be careful the old man finds you tomorrow. Yes, yes, said the director. Go and do your work and leave me alone, Yilin said to the director. The director agreed, and he hurried back to continue writing his notes. Yilin walked past the door of each office. In one office, he saw a middle-aged fat man sitting there, who was also being interrogated. He was very curious, can this fat man fight? Yilin walked in. When the policeman who was taking the notes saw him, he quickly wanted to stand up. Yilin stretched out his hand and waved his palm downward, indicating that he should not get up and continue. The policeman asked, did you take action? The fat man said, of course I'll take action. Who did you hit? I don't know them, how could I know who they hit? Anyway, the one who got hit the hardest was me. Let me state it first. We were acting in legitimate defense. They were the ones who struck first. We were forced to fight back, said the fat man. It doesn't matter whether it's self-defense or not. We will also call for surveillance. I just don't understand. You have a doctorate and are from Fudan University. You can be considered an intellectual. And you are already so old. How can you still do it? Would you be so impulsive and start a fight like young people? The policeman asked. What happened to the intellectuals? Wang Yangming was 44 years old and still led troops to fight bandits in Jiangxi. Zheng Qiaoban was 42 years old and organized the Hunan army to fight the Taiping army. They are also intellectuals. To tell you the truth, I am fighting today. It's not the first time that when intellectuals are bullied, they can still defend themselves with both hands, and that's what I did today. Yilin almost laughed out loud. He thought this fat man was really funny. He quickly retreated, worried that if he was here again, he would not be able to help laughing. Yulin passed by the door of the director's office and saw that the director was also taking notes, so he didn't go in. He walked over and thought about it, then walked back, stood at the door and looked at the man opposite the director. The more he looked, the more he looked like him. After walking in, the director saw him and stood up quickly. Yulin nodded at the man with his chin and asked, "Where are you from, Zhejiang?" "Hang Cheng," said the director. "Last name?" "Open." Yulin's heart skipped a beat. Isn't this too coincidental? "Bring out his household registration information and let me take a look, Yulin," he said. The director agreed. He opened the household registration inquiry system on his computer and entered Zhang Xiangbei's ID number. Zhang Xiangbei's household registration information popped up. Yulin looked at it and said to the director, "You guys go on, I'm leaving first." "Okay, director, go slowly," the director said. Yulin walked out of the police station building and walked to his car. He stood for a while, then turned to look at the brightly lit hall of the police station. He sighed. He got into the car and didn't start the car immediately. He thought for a while. He picked up his mobile phone and dialed. When the call was connected, Yulin asked, "Sister Jia, are you sleeping?" Jia said on the phone, "You can get up even if you sleep." "What's the matter, Yulin? Did your old man get into trouble again?" No, I have other things to discuss with you," Yulin said. Jia said, "Then I'll get up right away." Yulin said, "Yes, the matter is a little urgent. I'll come over now and I'll be at your place in about 15 minutes. Jia said yes. Yulin started the car and drove out of the police station yard toward Binhai Avenue. Thank you book friend 15051613233639 for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 2304. Jia's home is on Binhai Avenue, next to Wanled Garden, on the left side of the Century Bridge. The top floor is more than 500 square meters, occupying half of the building. Facing the sea, there is an arc-shaped tent standing on the balcony, which is several meters long. You can see the sea outside, the Century Bridge, Haidian Island, and the Haidian University campus across the bridge. The balcony extends over and is connected to a terrace. From the terrace, you can see the sea outside, Wanled Garden, Xiuying Port Terminal, and beyond, the Haikou Port Container Terminal extending into the sea, and the looming in the distance offshore drilling platform. When they arrived, a girl in her 20s and a sister in her 40s had already prepared a sumptuous table of dishes. Beside the restaurant, there was a huge floor-to-ceiling glass, and outside the glass was Kyung's Straight. Jia led Zhang Chen and Zhang Xiangbei around the house first, walked through the study and office, and when they walked to a guest room, Jia said, "Brother Zhang Chen, stay here at night. Don't stay in a hotel. It's more convenient than a hotel. You can ask them to make whatever you want to eat at any time." Before Zhang Chen could react, Jia said, "Don't disagree. We haven't seen each other for such a long time, and I still want to have a good talk with you." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Okay, I'll listen to you. Bai Bei, you live here too. There are plenty of rooms. In such a big house, it's usually just me and my two aunties. With you guys here, the house can finally be lively," Jia said. Zhang Xiangbei said quickly, "I have to go back to Kyung's Hong. Someone will come to pick me up later in the evening. There are many things going on over there at the ranch." "Okay, then I won't force you this time. Auntie will give you the key later. Bye bye, when you come to Hiken from now on, treat Auntie's place as your own home. You can pick a room by yourself later, Jia said. Zhang Xiangbei quickly said thank you. When Zhang Chen heard that Jia said that she and two nannies were usually the only ones, she wanted to ask Jianqiang, but after thinking about it, he didn't ask. When he just walked past, he only saw hangings and ornaments in the whole house. There were photos of Jia herself, but no photos of Jianqiang. Zhang Chen thought to himself that they were probably no longer together. The three of them walked around and walked back to the restaurant. Lao Xie and Yilin were standing on the balcony outside smoking. Jia asked them to come in to eat, and the two of them walked back. The five people sat down at the table. The girl stood there with a dining car next to her. There were various wines and drinks on the dining car. Yilin asked Zhang Xiangbei, "Aren't you going to drive later?" Zhang Xiangbei couldn't explain it. Yilin said, "Then we would all come for free." "Little sister, we can do it ourselves," Yilin said to the girl. The girl smiled, left 2 bottles of Maotai, and pushed the dining cart away. After the wine was filled, Jia stood up, raised her glass, and said to Yilin, "Yilin, let's toast to brother Zhang Chen first." Yilin said yes, stood up, and the two raised their glasses. Zhang Chen also stood up, raised his glasses, and the three of them clinked and drank. After sitting down, Jia and Lao Xie said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Xie, after seeing brother Zhang Chen, there is no one else in my eyes. Please don't see anyone else. You can do whatever you want." Lao Xie quickly smiled and said, I understand. Looking at your feelings, I am envious of everyone around you." Jia nodded, and she and Zhang Xiangbei said, "Bye, when we lived together, before you, your father helped us a lot really, Yilin knows." Yilin stood up again, raised his glass, and said, "Sister Jia is right. Come on, brother Zhang Chen, I'll toast you with another glass." After the two of them finished humming, they sat down and Yilin said, "At that time, my bad boy father ran away with another woman, leaving only me and my mother at home. The days at that time were actually very bitter. I suffered in my heart. I was looked down upon by others in the village. When I arrived, we were also ridiculed and bullied in school. At that time, Sister Jia was right, brother Zhang Chen and brother Ganzi, you helped us too much." Zhang Chen quickly waved his hand and said, "No, Yilin, you and your mother take good care of us. Why do we live in Hiken? We just think that your mother is the best landlord. We live there, as free as living in my own home. After I leave Hainan, I will often think of your yard, you and your mother. Yilin, brother Zhang Chen is right. Alas, it's a pity that good people don't live long. Your bad boy dad is still alive and kicking, but your mother is no longer here," Jia said, her eyes turning red. Yilin waved his hand and said to Zhang Chen, "Brother Zhang Chen, I am telling the truth. At that time, I was happiest when I only came home from school every day and was with you, including later boxing with my master. After I learned boxing from my master, I got into a few fights at school, and no one dared to bully me anymore. By the way, brother Zhang Chen, how is my master?" "Okay," Zhang Chen nodded, "would you like to have a phone call with him?" Yilin hesitated for a moment and said, "I don't want it anymore. I'll go to Hangzhou to see him next time." Yilin felt a little embarrassed as he said this. He said, "I'm afraid that master will scold me. I met him twice and was scolded by him both times. If I want to be scolded, it's better to be scolded in person. It's more comfortable." "Ah, Yilin, have you seen your master after he left Hainan?" Zhang Chen was surprised and asked. "Yes, I met him twice, but he drove me away both times. It was very embarrassing," Yilin said with a smile, "but I know that master is doing it for my own good." "When, please tell me, Why didn't I know about this? Zhang Chen said. By the way, Yilin, how did you become a policeman? We can talk about these things together, but it would be a long story, Yilin said. Come on, don't be afraid of a long story, just tell me, Zhang Chen urged. Yilin picked up the cup, toasted everyone first, raised his neck, drank the wine, and then began to say. When I became a police officer, I listened to my master. Brother Zhang Chen, do you remember that when the master left, we had dinner in Kaijiangchun? During the meal, the master told me not to imitate him or that bad boy. What's that bad boy's name? I forgot. Is it Zheng? At that time, he bullied us very badly. After Master Xiao taught him a lesson for us, he never dared to do it again. He was very polite to me and Jianqiang, including his subordinates. Same, Jia interjected. Yes, that's him. Master told me not to be a bad boy in the future, but to be a policeman. I remembered this at that time. Later, when I took the college entrance examination, I went to the police academy and passed the exam. When Master's accident happened, I was still studying in the police academy. At that time, Master's case could be said to have caused a sensation across the country, and even more so within our system. It was reported immediately, and teachers treated it as a case during class. When I was talking and listening, I felt that this might be Master Hang Chen, and his surname was Wu. People with the surname Wu are rare to begin with. I went to ask the teacher, and the teacher helped me find the name, proving that Wu Mumu in the report was indeed the master. At that time, I was very worried that the master would be sentenced to death. Fortunately, he was not sentenced to death later. He was just sentenced to death. For 20 years. When I graduated from the police academy and became a police officer, I asked many classmates and teachers to help me inquire and search, and finally found out that my master was serving his sentence in a labor camp in Shanghai. One year, I took advantage of my annual leave and paid leave to make a special trip there. To see Master in Shanghai, I took a bus from Haikan to Nanning, and then took a train from Nanning to Xining in Shanghai. At that time, there were only green cars. When I arrived in Xining, I took a bus again and arrived at a small town. From there to the farm, there were no buses. Finally, I stopped a truck going to Master's farm. Fortunately, I had a police officer's certificate and they let me take a ride. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have gotten there. It was the farthest door for me. It took me 5 days of walking from Haikan to Master's farm. When I arrived at the farm, I completed the formalities and went to see Master. I specially changed into the police uniform I brought with me. I was neatly dressed and energetic. I wanted Master to be happy to see me. Unexpectedly, in the interview room, Master cursed me when he saw me. Who are you and what are you doing here? I called him Master and told him, I am Yilin. He said, I am not your master, I am prisoner, you are a policeman. We have nothing to do with each other. Just be a policeman and catch more bad guys like me. Master also said, don't come here anymore. We won't know each other from now on, and I won't see you if you come. Go back, be your policeman, and take good care of your mother. After Master said that, he turned around and went back to the prison. I had no choice but to go back to the hostel on the farm. When I went back the next day, Master really refused to come out to see me. He just asked the guards to give me a word. What word? Zhang Xiangbei asked. Go away, said Yilin with a wry smile, and shook his head with a wry smile. It ended like this the first time, Zhang Chen asked. Yes, I stayed there for 4 days, but I was never able to see Master again. My vacation time was running out, so I had no choice but to come back to Haikan, Yilin said. What about the second time? Zhang Chen asked. The second time was when Brother Ganzi had an accident. At that time, the internet was already available, so I often went online to search for information about Brother Ganzi and Brother Zhang Chen. I saw on the internet that you were both very good, and I was very happy. I also knew that Master came out and went to Brother Zhang Chen. I felt relieved knowing that he was by Brother Zhang Chen's side. At that time, Brother Ganzi was quite famous on the internet. He had become a famous real estate developer. You can find it by searching on the internet. I saw that he had done this project, done that project, and even owned this place. The King of Earth there, I was happy for him when I saw him. I went back and told my mother that she was also very happy. While she was happy, my mother was also very worried. She said, "Brother Ganzi is a good person, but good people often do not get rewarded." When Ganzi was in Heiken, his business was so big, but later it collapsed. She said that good people cannot do business. If good people do business, they will be harmed by bad people. She is very worried that the pole will be the same as in Heiken. I laughed at my mother at that time, saying that she was ignorant. In Heiken, Brother Zanza was not the only one who was unlucky, but many others were also unlucky. At that time, the whole of Hainan was unlucky, and Brother Zanzi had no choice. My mother told me that she was not unlucky. All the other people in the village who bought off the plant properties were unlucky and lost all their money. She was the only one who made money. She made money because she listened to Brother Zanzi. Sold all the off-plan properties in his hands. Brother Ganzi also drove away Wen Wen and Qian who were reselling off the plan properties with her. She wanted to buy off the plan properties again, but she couldn't find anyone who could help her. My mother was still hesitating. Behind Brother Gang's back, I secretly went to buy off the plan properties, but the whole of Hainan collapsed. At that time, when I saw people in the village, their eyes were red and swollen, and they were almost dying of loss. My mother said that Brother Zanza saved her and our whole family. My mother remembers this and keeps talking about it. Later, I saw that Brother Ganza's company was listed. The business was getting bigger and bigger. I went back and told my mother. My mother was very happy every time she heard it and asked me if Brother Ganza's business was too big to fail. After she finished speaking, she said it was impossible. There is no business in this world that is too big to fail. She also said that the man in the pole was really smart, but there was one thing about him, he was too easy to talk to and had a bad ear. If you are too soft, such a person will definitely suffer. In the end, my mother was right. Later I saw on the internet that something had happened to Brother Ganza. It was said that he abandoned the company, disappeared, and owed a lot of loan sharks. At that time, I was very worried. I judged that Brother Zanza was probably taken away by a loan shark, and his life was in danger. At that time, I was already the captain of the criminal police brigade in the county below. I knew that these loan sharks could do anything. I went home and told my mother about Brother Gang's incident, and my mother he asked me to go to Hangzhou and said that he must find a way to find Brother Ganzi and bring him to Hainan. If he is brought to Hainan, those loan sharks will not be able to find him. I thought what my mother said made sense, so I went to Hangzhou. After arriving in Hangcheng, I went to Brother Zhang Chen's company. You were not in the company that day. You said you were going to Brother Ganza's company. Master was there. Master saw me. He immediately took me into his room and scolded me again. He asked me why I went to Hangzhou. I said I was here to help find Brother Gangza. He said, "This is not your business. Brother Zhang Chen will look for someone and is already looking for him." He told me not to get involved in this matter. I wanted to wait for Brother Zhang Chen to come back, but I was also scolded by Master. Master told me, "Yilin, remember, you are a policeman now. No matter where you are, policemen should have less to do with business. Don't get involved in business. You are not the same kind of people." Moreover, Master told me that my temper and personality are too similar to his. People who are too loyal will not be good policemen. That's what happened that day. I was scolded by master again, sent to the airport, and rushed back. I wanted to call brother Zhang Chen, but he didn't let me. Yilin said, and shook his head with a wry smile. Zhang Chen said, Yilin, your master is right. Even we don't know what happened with the pole at that time and how deep the water was. In addition, people are dead, and the matter is even more complicated. How can you, a policeman, getting caught up in something like this? Yilin nodded. Lao Xie said, Fuju, your mother is very good at judging people. If Mr. Lu suffers a loss, it's really because his ears are too soft. At that time, Hainan was really miserable, and speculation in real estate properties really killed people, Jia Jia said. Are you guys fired too? Zhang Chen asked Jia Jia. Jia Jia smiled but did not answer. She looked at Yilin, who laughed. Jia Jia glared at him, and Yilin quickly said, Okay, I won't tell you. Sister Jia Jia, if you don't tell me yourself, I won't tell you even to death. Thank you for the hurried life and the reward of 2 fishes. Thank you for your monthly votes on the Road to a Nation, Fantasy in the Wind, Dragon, and Book Friends 1608242103388521. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 2305. Speak for yourself, what am I afraid of? Jia Jia shouted. Yilin laughed. Brother Zhang Chen, do you know who lived in the room you originally lived in and who lived in it later? Jia Jia asked. Zhang Chen shook his head. We, Jia Jia said. Have you moved back? Zhang Chen asked. No, it was Yilin's mother who took us in, Jia Jia said. Didn't Jianqiang take the money and also speculate in real estate? He made a lot of money at the beginning. The money was so profitable. In the morning I went out with 100,000 yuan, and when I came back at night, I made 30,000 to 40,000 yuan. I really made money by grabbing the off-the-plan property. I grabbed the off-the-plan property upstairs and sold it when I came down. What's even more exaggerated is that there is still a queue here. The head of the queue is paying 40,000 yuan for an off-plan property. After you pay the money, you can sell it for 45,000 yuan when you reach the middle, and you can sell it for 50,000 yuan when you reach the end of the queue. Who wouldn't make such easy money? Not only did we spend all our money to speculate in off-the-plan properties, we also wrote and called everyone we knew in our hometown to tell them how profitable it was to speculate in off-the-plan properties in Haikan. They all had 560. They remit the money from 100 to 1000 or 2000 and put it together to speculate in off-the-plan real estate, and let us help them make money. It turned out overnight. Brother Zhang Chen, let me tell you, it was really overnight. The speed was really amazing. I'm scared to think about it now. This is why someone asked me to do real estate later, and I didn't even dare to go. The reason is that with just a bang, everything was finished. All the off-plan buildings turned into air and were worthless. Everyone goes to the place where off-plan properties are sold, but it's no use. The house is just a drawing, and the foundation hasn't been dug yet. They just built a small house there to sell off-the-plan properties. You just demolish his house. Those broken bricks and tiles are worth a few copper coins, and in some properties, even the houses are rented from others. Those bosses, all those who could escape ran away, and those who didn't escape were pitiful. They were scolded and beaten by you, and there was nothing they could do. They couldn't get out a penny of money, and even their accounts were frozen. Even if you threaten to die for him, he wants to die for you first. At that time, really, we also wanted to die. Haikan was already dead before we died. At that time, the entire Haikan, really, in just a few days, it was as if the entire Haikan was dead. No one bought anything. Yilin said everywhere, the kind of person with red and swollen eyes can't even open a small shop on the roadside. By the way, brother Zhang Chen, do you still remember the food stall in Binya village? Is that the one where the water spinach is delicious? Zhang Chen asked. That's right, that's it, Jia said. The stall owner can't even open the stall anymore. He spends all the money he earns, the money he spends on buying groceries every day, and the money he borrows from bad guys. Use it to speculate in off-the-plan properties, queue up at dawn every day to buy off-the-plan properties, sell them at noon, and then go to the market to buy vegetables in the afternoon. That day, he used all his money to grab 5 off-the-plan properties in the morning. He was so happy that he thought he was so lucky today. He could actually buy as many off-the-plan properties as he wanted. There are many places. Is there any restriction? One person is only allowed to buy 2 or 3. He didn't know. In fact, it was the boss who probably knew something, so he got up early to sell off-the-plan properties. All the off-the-plan properties were sold out at around 8 o'clock in the morning, and everyone withdrew their money. Gone. These people who grabbed off-the-plan properties thought they could sell them and make money at 9 or 10 o'clock when there were more people who knew that there would be no more people. Suddenly there was no one left. They ran to other places to look. All projects are sold by people selling off-the-plan properties, and no one buys off-the-plan properties. When the boss sees this, he wants to sell off-the-plan properties. At first it was the original price, but no one wanted it. Who wanted it? Then I offered it at 20% off, but still no one wanted it. Then I offered it at 50% off, but no one wanted it. Finally, even after the 100% discount, no one wanted it. He just squatted there and cried. When Jianqiang and I went over, we saw him and he cried and told us that he didn't even have money to buy groceries in the afternoon. But, who cares? There are people like this everywhere, and we are also such people. We still have 14 off-the-plan properties in our hands, and want to wait for the price to rise higher to sell them, but in the end, we are all the same. It hit him in the hand, which really made Tian yinging. Seeing him cry, we also wanted to cry. No, I was already crying at that time. This boss, at night, even his stall was smashed by those bad guys who came to ask for debts. I never saw him again. Later, after we stayed at Yilan's house, we never saw him again. His original place, it was another guy from Hunan who was setting up a stall there. It turned out that this guy was going to build a 38-story house next to Huayan building and was setting up a food stall. At that time, Haikan was really dead. It was dead. The whole Hainan island was dead. There was no business for anything. The rich people all fled back to the mainland. Those who stayed in Haikan had no money. Yes, those who can't go back are all paupers. What business can we do? We have no money, Jianqiang can't find anything to do, and I can't. When Jia said this, she looked at Zhang Chen and Zhang Xiangbei, her face turned slightly red, and she continued. I have no business either. There is no business here. The little money in my pocket is still going out day by day. I always have to eat and pay rent. In the end, we really can't survive in Haikan. If we stay in Haikan again, we will probably die in Haikan. After counting the money in our pockets, apart from the travel expenses back, we will probably be hungry on the way. There are so many people in my hometown, and the money given to us has been wasted. We know that we will not have a good life if we go back, but if we don't go back, we are really desperate. Think about it, we are still living in the sea. In the city, we don't have much culture or other skills. The only thing Jianqiang can find is that kind of coolie. But at that time, all the construction sites in Haikan had stopped working. Under the South Bridge and in the park, there were homeless migrant workers everywhere. It was hard to get back home, but there was still a place. No matter how dilapidated it was, there was still a home there and a place to stay at night. At that time, I thought, never mind, let's go back first. You can't go to other cities either. When you go to other cities, it doesn't mean that there are jobs and things waiting for you. You can just go and do it. You have to get familiar with it for a month or two before you can find something to do, right? But in the past 2 months, what will we use to pay rent and eat? No matter what, we have to go home first. Jianqiang and I have discussed it. When we get home, we will be like those bosses. If someone wants to scold him, let him scold him. If someone wants to beat him, let him beat him. He can't kill us. Really, that's what I thought at the time. I decided to go back to my hometown. That day, we were carrying our luggage and getting ready to go to Xiuying Pier. I remembered that I told Jianqiang that we left today. I don't know if we will come to Hainan again. Let's come. After living in Hainan for so long, the only person who is still able to talk and still in Hainan is Yilin's mother. I want to say goodbye to Yilin's mother and say a word to her. Jianqiang agreed, and the two of us walked from Lonjiapo to Binya village carrying our luggage. We couldn't even bear to sit in the 3UN car, so we walked to Binya village and arrived at Yilin's house. Yilin went to school, but his mother was not there. The courtyard door was locked, so we sat at the courtyard door and waited. When Yilin's mother came back on her tricycle, she was very happy to see us. She invited us in and asked us why we were here. I told Yilin's mother that I had lost all my money in real estate speculation and we couldn't find anything in Hainan. As things get done, we want to go back to our hometown. When we go back this time, we don't know if we will come back to Hainan in the future, so we just want to say goodbye to her. Yilin's mother asked me, "Is there anything you can do when you go back?" She cried when she asked me. I told her honestly that there is nothing I can do when I go back. I'm afraid I will be scolded and beaten, but if we don't go back, we won't be able to survive in Hainan, and there's nothing we can do about it. I cried, and so did Yilin's mother. She told me, "Don't go back. The house upstairs is still empty." If that mainland boy left, she meant Zhangzi. After you leave, brother Zhang Chen, brother Zhangzi will not live there. He is also missing in your room. Yilin's mother said that there is still furniture and everything in his room, so you don't need to buy it. Yilin's mother said, "I don't know when Ludelu will come back, so you can stay with him first. If he comes back, you can also live in Wenwen and Kinkin's original room. I don't want your rent, so you can just live there. We can live here as long as we want." She asked us to live here first and then slowly figure out how to do it. We stayed at Yilin's house again. Not only did his mother not charge us rent, but knowing that we had no money, she even cooked extra meals and asked us to eat together. "Oh, come on, don't just listen to me. Eat vegetables, eat vegetables." Jia greeted everyone. Everyone was sitting there, not in the mood to eat. Jia smiled bitterly, and suddenly her eyes turned red again. She said to Yilin, "Yilin, I really miss your mother. Without her, we would have really been desperate at that time." Yilin's eyes were also red. He reached out and patted Jia's hand and said to her, "Sister Jia, I know. Everything has passed. No need to say anything more. You can live back. My mother and I are actually very happy. After brother Zhangzi disappeared suddenly, my mother and I were the only two people in that yard. It's very deserted. When you come back, the house becomes a little more lively. My mother and I also like liveliness." Jia burst into tears and smiled. She also patted Yilin's hand, then turned to Zhang Chen and said, "Brother Zhang Chen, we have been living there since then. We lived there until he went to college in Yilin, until he came back after graduating from college. We lived there and were eventually demolished. What I am happy about is that we, Yilin's mother, and Yilin have always lived together. Like a member of my own family, Yilin is like my biological brother, Yilin, right? Yes, you are right, Sister Jia. Yilin nodded and said, even when I went to Guangzhou to go to university and was assigned to work in the county below, you and brother Ji Unqiang also helped take care of my mother. Thank you Brokeback Mountain for the reward of 2 fishes. Thank you Void Broken Dream, WXD 121, Lemon Slag Stone Spring Suspension Juice, Civilized Reading, Little Gatekeeper, Robin Granite, Zhao 1017, Book Friend 202007312053039448 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 2306. The atmosphere at the dinner table was a little dull. Zhang Chen raised his glass and said to everyone, "Come on, don't talk about the unpleasant things in the past, let's drink." Everyone raised their glasses, clinked them, and drank. Zhang Chen and Jia said, "You two aunties are good and the food is delicious." "It's delicious, isn't it? If it's delicious, please come more often. And you, Bai Bei, you know, and you, Mr. Siet. Although we just met today, we will all be friends from now on." Lao Xia and Zhang Xiangbei both agreed, and Zhang Chen said, "It's settled. When I come to Haikan, I will come to your place to have a meal, and you, Jia and Yilin, must also go to Hangcheng. I don't need to call here. I come to Sister Jia's place to eat basically every week. You can't eat such delicious food outside." Yilin and Zhang Chen said, "I will definitely go to Hangzhou. If you scold me, help me block it." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "No problem, I will help you block it." "Yilin, what are you talking about? You mainly eat out too much and are tired of it." Jia said, "The food here is not good looking, and the presentation and knife skills are not as particular as those of brother Zhang Chen and you guys. But firstly, the food is fresh and bought fresh on the same day, and secondly, it tastes delicious." When Zhang Chen heard this, he was unconvinced and said, "The dishes at our catering, men and women, are also fresh, and they are all bought on the same day." "Okay, I won't hit you," Jia said with a smile. "However, my fish, shrimps and crabs were brought directly from the fishing boat to the Hadian River below. If you see it, just go to the pier below, and then what you brought to me, brother Zhang Chen, no matter how fresh your food and drink is, it's not as fresh as mine, right?" Zhang Chen stared at Jia. There was really no way to compete like this. If the comparison continued, the only choice would be to jump into the sea and eat raw food. Jia laughed loudly. "Okay, brother Zhang Chen, I often ask your food and drink chefs to come to my house to cook. I can prove this. I've eaten here several times." Yilin said, "I know it's from brother Zhang Chen's company, and it tastes particularly delicious. I originally wanted to do it today, but when I thought that brother Zhang Chen was here, it was a bit embarrassing to ask people from your company to do it. It's the two aunties who have to do the hard work." Jia smiled and said, "How about it, brother Zhang Chen? I'm satisfied now, all right." "I'm satisfied," Zhang Chen also said with a smile. "It's just that it's really delicious, I'm not just saying it in a polite way." "Brother Zhang Chen, I don't agree with what you just said," Jia said. "What words?" Zhang Chen asked. "What unpleasant things did you say?" "These are things in the past, but they are not unpleasant things. At the time, it was really difficult, but now that I think about it, it is not unpleasant at all. Instead, it is a bit warm. I feel that it was so difficult for me before, and it is not unpleasant at all. They have all come through, and they are still a little proud of themselves," Jia said. "Jia, you are right, I feel the same way, but there is a saying you haven't forgotten. If you like to recall the past, it means that a person is old," Zhang Chen said with a smile. "When you get old, you get old. You are already an old woman anyway. Therefore, when Bai Bei is here, We old people have to tell them these things. No matter if they say that we rely on our old age to sell our old age, we just have to say, we need to let them know that it is not easy for us to come here, and we need to let them learn to cherish it, Jia said. Zhang Xiangbei said quickly, Aunt Jia, I like hearing these things very much. For me, they are both experience and wealth. If you can say that, Auntie likes it. Jia smiled and nodded. Everyone chatted while drinking, and still went back to the past. With a few old friends together, what would we talk about if we didn't talk about the past? The past is like a spring connecting them. As long as they are not careful, it will pull them to their side. The sky outside is gradually getting dark, and the Kyungsu Strait has sunk into the dark night. Today is a cloudy day. There are no stars, no moon, or a trace of light in the sky. The sky and the sea have merged into one, and the night has dyed both the sea and the sky black. A piece of water, a beacon, and two ferry ships, their lights on, seemed to be embedded in a piece of black cloth, motionless. Zhang Chen looked at the lights of the ferry and thought to himself, there are probably no people on the ferry now who are completely ignorant about the future and this island like they were back then, and they probably dove in head first, and there are probably no people like Jia. For people like Jianqiang, who were anxious to escape from the island, everything became peaceful. Zhang Chen remembered Lao Xie when he saw him. He told Jia that we are not qualified to rely on our elders and sell them. Mr. Xie is a legend. He has been here since the establishment of Hainan province. Until now, all the people on this island have the ups and downs of the past are all engraved in his heart, and he is the living dictionary of the changes in Hainan. By the way, Mr. Xie, when everyone was so crazy, did you ever speculate on off-the-plan properties? Zhang Chen asked Lao Xie. Lao Xie said no, I hadn't even thought about it, and I didn't even buy Mr. Liu's Jinghai International Financial Center and Hongyu Building. We bought the Hongyu Building. Jia said and looked at Zhang Chen and said to him. Jianqiang went to Brother Ganzi. I didn't even know that Brother Ganzi opened the back door for him and gave him a discount. He bought and sold it and made money, so he told me. That was his first time. When buying off-the-plan property, he said, buy from an acquaintance, so you can feel more at ease. That time, Jianqiang and Lu Ligan had a fight, and it was the first time they saw Lu Ligan again after they moved away from Yilin. Zhang Chen and Lao Xie said, you shouldn't, Mr. Xie, how can you hold it in so much? Logically speaking, you have money and connections, so you should be speculating. Lao Xie smiled and said, have you forgotten that I fell ahead of you? I took the money and went to Hainan to build a furniture factory. In the end, I lost everything. Only that piece of land and a dilapidated factory building were left. If Longkan South Road hadn't been opened, it would have been perfect. Just passing through that piece of land, our piece of land and factory buildings turned into delicious food, and then we turned over. I don't even know where I will be now. After I came back from that time, I made a rule for myself, I would not touch a business that I could not see clearly, such as off-the-plan properties or real estate. At that time, I didn't even understand how I could jump into it and still do it. There are two things. Lao Xie stretched out two fingers and gestured. Zhang Xiangbei was very curious and asked, Uncle Xie, what 2 points? First, when Longkan South Road was opened, I picked up a big leak. I was so lucky. I told myself that a person can't always be so lucky. Picking up a bag on the road may happen to you once by chance. But again and again. As Lao Xie said, everyone nodded, and Lao Xie continued. At that time, the chefs in our cafeteria, the young masters and princesses in the KTV, and the security guards below were all speculating in off-the-plan real estate. Even the people who came to our cafeteria to sell swill were also speculating in off-the-plan real estate. I knew something was wrong and something big was going to happen. But I don't know what big thing will happen. I only know that making money is not that easy. A very simple truth, if it is so easy for everyone to make money, then whose money do they earn? Where does this money come from? Does it all fall from the sky? As long as money does not fall from the sky, then there is money on the ground. A monster. Hi, Mr. Xie, your idea is really high. Yilin raised his thumb and said, it seems that Ginger is still hotter with age. Jia nodded and said, that's true. At that time, we felt that everyone was robbing money. We didn't think about the risks of robbing money. We just thought that since it was robbing, we should robbing it faster. As long as you make money because you have faster hands and feet than others. You don't care about other things, but in the end, you are trapped in it and buried alive. After everyone had eaten and drank enough, Yilin looked at Zhang Xiangbei and on a whim, he shouted. How about it, Zhang Xiangbei, let's find a place to compete. I usually compete with these guys below, but every one of them deliberately loses to me. It's not interesting at all. Okay, let's compete, who is afraid of you, Zhang Xiangbei also shouted. Then we agreed, you are not allowed to let me go, Yilin said. Don't worry, my subordinates will show no mercy at all. I will make you look for teeth all over the place, regardless of whether you are the director or not, Zhang Xiangbei said. Yilin laughed loudly and said, if you want me to look for teeth all over the floor, then I will enjoy it. I will treat you to dinner next time, and let the guys below come to watch and watch their boss. Why are there so many teeth all over the floor? Lao Xie smiled and said, such a wonderful game, I must go and watch it. Okay, you can be our witness, Yilin said, and the three of them stood up. Jia asked, Bai, will you come back later? Zhang Xiangbei thought for a while and said not necessarily. If they had come early and called me, I would have left directly from my senior brother. Then wait, Jia also stood up and called inside, Xiaoyu, Xiaoyu. The girl ran out. Jia pointed at Zhang Xiangbei and said to her. His name is Bai, north, south, east, north and west. You take him to see those rooms and let him choose one. Once he has chosen, that will be his room from now on. By the way, you give him the door key and access control. Said. Xiaoyu said yes and led Zhang Xiangbei away. Lao Xie also followed, saying he wanted to see the house. Jia and Zhang Chen said, Brother Zhang Chen, don't worry. From now on, Bai will be in Hainan and Yilin and I will be here. We will take good care of him. Zhang Chen quickly said, thank you Jia, thank you Yilin. When the three people came back, Jia asked, have you chosen? Zhang Xiangbei said he had picked it, thank you Aunt Jia. Bai, if you go to Haikan, you are not allowed to sleep outside. If you don't know, treat this place as your home. If you don't come back to Haikan, my aunt will be angry. Jia said. Zhang Xiangbei quickly said yes, yes. The three of them were about to leave when Jia shouted again, Yilin, Yilin. Yilin stopped, and Jia scolded, you are dizzy again. 3 people have drunk, and you still want to drive? I know the police will not stop you if they see it. If anyone else you know knows, they will take pictures and keep it. Where is the evidence? Do you still want to be a star? How many times have I told you to be careful and let Xiaoyu send you there? Yilin chuckled. Jia and Xiaoyu said, wherever they want to go, you send them there. Xiaoyu said yes. Thank you Zhao 1017, On the Road to a Nation, Book Friends 202203241858433375, Book Friends 202201161129588946 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium era, south to north. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 2307. As soon as Yilin and the others left, the sister-in-law in her 40s came over immediately. Jia called her Au. Jia and Zhang Chen said, "Brother Zhang Chen, let's go sit on the terrace." Zhang Chen said yes. "Sir, what do you want to drink?" Au asked. Zhang Chen, "Let's talk about tea." The two people walked to the terrace outside, and Au followed them. There was a glass ceiling on the terrace, and two sofas and lounge chairs were placed side by side under the ceiling. Jia and Zhang Chen sat down on the lounge chairs. Between the two lounge chairs, there was a coffee table with a tea tray and a complete set of tea sets. Jia and Zhang Chen said, "I also like to drink tea." The water on the open stove was already boiling. Au poured the boiling water into the empty pot and warmed the pot first. After warming the pot, the water poured into the tea tray and leaked to the bottom. Au then added 2/3 of the tea leaves into the teapot with a teaspoon. Boiling water was poured into the pot to moisten the tea. When the water was full, he used bamboo chopsticks to scrape off a layer of tea foam on the surface, and then poured the tea into the pot. Enter the tea, then pour boiling water into the pot, cover the pot lid, and pour boiling water on the pot lid to make the temperature inside and outside the teapot consistent. While waiting for the tea to brew, Au put the 6 teacups into the sea of tea with bamboo clips, warmed the cups with the tea water just used to moisten the tea, and then lined up the 6 teacups on the tea tray. Then, she carried the teapot and slid it along the edge of the tea boat, that is, the tea tray, several times to remove any water droplets that may have remained on the bottom of the pot, lest these water droplets drip into the teacup when the tea was poured later. This is commonly known as touring around mountains and rivers. After finishing the sightseeing tour, Au took the teapot and began to cruise the river. The tea poured out from the spout and walked back and forth on the 6 cups, instead of filling 1 cup first and then the second cup. In that way, the cups were in harmony with each other. There will be different shades of tea from cup to cup. Au's speed of cruising the river is very skillful. The tea forms a curtain of water in the air. In a short time, 6 cups of tea have been filled. Jia and Au said, "Go ahead, we will do it ourselves." Au said yes, but did not leave immediately. Instead, she filled the kettle on the stove with water. After leaving, she walked back and took a blanket for each of them. In Haikan in December, although the temperature was still it's only a dozen degrees, but at night, in high-rise buildings, when the sea breeze blows over, it's still a bit cool. Au left here and quickly cleared the dining table. Xiaoyu had come back, but she didn't come in through the door, but through the nanny's special passage at the back, and was already washing in the kitchen. The two people packed up the kitchen, and then they disappeared completely. The house was too big, as big as a forest. It was easy for people to hide in the dense woods. Only when Jia needed them, they would appear in front of you. Zhang Chen and Jia drank tea cup after cup, and Jia continued to make and pour tea with skillful techniques. Zhang Chen was sitting there, drinking tea while looking at Jiuying Port and Haikou Port container terminal on the other side of Wanl Garden. The container terminal was very busy. A big crane was picking up a container from the ship and moving it in the air, and finally fell on the flatbed of the container truck. There happened to be a ferry docking at Jiuying Port, and the people and vehicles were spit out continuously from their stomachs by the ferry. Jia looked at Zhang Chen, then followed Zhang Chen's gaze outside. She smiled softly and said, "I don't know why. I don't like to see any parks or the sea. I just like to see the pier. When I first came to this house, I fell in love with it as soon as I saw that I could see Jiuying Port. I bought it right away. When I get down, I like to watch people getting on and off the boat. Watching them reminds me of the first time I went to Hainan." Zhang Chen also laughed, and he said, "I was eating earlier, looking at the light of the ferry on the sea, and I thought of it. Then are we really old? Jia asked. I'm really old, Zhang Chen said. When I think about the past, sometimes it feels like yesterday, and sometimes it feels very far away, so far away that I am not sure whether these are really my own experiences. Jia smiled and said, at least I can be sure that it's me who's sitting here now, and it's you who's sitting there. Jia remembered it and shouted, I'm going to make a call. Brother Zhang Chen, please answer the call. Who? Zhang Chen asked. Who else is there, Jianqiang? If he knows you are here, he will definitely be very happy, Jia said. Where is Jianqiang? Zhang Chen asked. New Zealand, Jia said with a smile. You don't know what this country bumpkin likes most now is playing golf. He travels all over the country and around the world. This time, he went to New Zealand with a few friends and women. Jia dialed the phone as she spoke and pressed the speakerphone. The phone rang twice and Jianqiang's voice came, my dear wife, what do you want me to do? My orders are just to tell you that brother Zhang Chen is here with me, Jia said. Who? Brother Zhang Chen? Brother Zhang Chen is at your place. Hurry up, call brother Zhang Chen. You miss me so much, Jianqiang called on the phone. Jia handed the phone to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen took it and said to the phone, hello, Jianqiang. Okay, brother Zhang Chen, you finally showed up, haha, how long will you stay in Haikan? Wait for me to go back, let's have a good drink, it's been so many years, more than 20 years, right? Jianqiang smiled on the other end of the phone. Zhang Chen said yes, it has been more than 20 years, but I have to go back tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. There are many things in the company. It doesn't matter. As long as we get in touch, we will definitely meet up soon. I will come to Haikan often. By the way, Jianqiang, I also invite you and Jia to Hangzhou, Zhang Chen said. Okay, I go to Hangzhou and Shanghai often. The Westlake and Fukun Shanja courses in Hangzhou, and the courses in Sheshan, Zihe, Binhai and Lake Milan in Shanghai are all very good. I have been to them all. I will make an appointment for a game when I come back. Go to Hangzhou, Jianqiang said. Zhang Chen smiled and said, okay, welcome, but Jianqiang, I don't know how to play golf. It doesn't matter, I can teach you, brother Zhang Chen, this golf ball is similar to the marbles we played when we were children. It just goes into holes and sees who can hole in first. Jia took the phone from Zhang Chen and said to the phone, that's so long-winded, hang up. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Jia and Zhang Chen said, you can't talk about golf with him. When I talk about it, he talks a lot and says he won't be tired for several hours. I can't stand it. Zhang Chen laughed and asked, are you two okay now? Jia said lightly, we are not divorced, but we haven't been together for many years. When we were at Yilan's house, he lived in a room and I lived in a room. After the Yilan house was demolished, I moved in. Here, he lives in a villa on the west coast. We have the name of husband and wife, but not the reality of husband and wife. It has been almost 20 years since we were in the same bed. He is still a director in the company, but he never goes to the company, and I don't allow him to go. Why? Zhang Chen asked. You don't know what kind of person he is. When he goes to the company, he doesn't know how to do other things. He must be flirting with girls all day long, which makes the company a mess. I have made an agreement with him. I don't care what you do to other women. But you can't touch the women in the company, or the women who have anything to do with the company. To save some face for me, he is self-aware, so he simply asked not to go to the company. Jia said. Zhang Chen couldn't help but want to laugh, but he didn't want to laugh out loud, but this relationship sounded a bit weird to him. Zhang Chen said, do you have children? There is one son, who is currently studying in Australia, Jia said, but that is my sister's child, adopted to us. Gia said and sighed, it's me, I can no longer have children. Zhang Chen said, in this case, why don't you just separate and make your life better? It's good for us to be like this. I don't need a man in my life anymore. What he lacks is not a woman. He changes women all day long. As long as he doesn't bring women around in front of me, I will never go there. His villa, when he was in Heiken, he would come here for a meal every 3 or 4 days, and the two of them would talk. After eating, he would go back to his villa to sleep, Gia said. No matter what I listen to, I still feel a little strange, Zhang Chen said. Everyone has their own life. You can't understand it without going deep into it. We are used to each other and feel safe and secure. Safe? Zhang Chen asked. Yes, we have experienced so much together. To put it bluntly, he has a few hairs and I have a few hairs. We are already familiar with each other. There is no need to guard against the other. Don't you know that Jianqiang? I like it. He was looking for a woman, but he was also very stingy with women. He made her pregnant. I asked him to give me 100,000 yuan to compensate her, but he refused and only agreed to take 20,000 yuan. Guess what, I went with 20,000 yuan, and finally got 5,000 yuan back, and proudly told me that after being scolded by me, it looked like that woman, she was my humming person, that belly I was the one who made it big. Zhang Chen couldn't help it anymore and laughed. Gia also laughed and said, I'm not going to lie to you, it's really like this. He is more guarded against those women than I am. I said you should either go out and have a child, but he wouldn't. He said these women, and when they are together, they are all interested in his money. He is not that stupid. If he gives birth to a child, he will be trapped by that woman. He said that when women had abortions, he would personally accompany them to the hospital. Those women thought he was considerate and responsible, but in fact he was worried because he was worried that they would lie to him and say that they had an abortion, and then secretly give birth to the child. Come down. Zhang Chen's stomach almost hurt from laughing. After laughing, he asked, what about you? Me, Gia said, didn't I tell you that I don't need a man now? Brother Zhang Chen, believe it or not, I haven't touched a man for more than 20 years. What man would do anything to me? I'm physically repulsed by the act of being affectionate, and I feel like vomiting, let alone going to bed. Maybe it's retribution. Besides, this person, when he had no money, he knew very well in his heart that he knew who was really good to you and who was pretending to be good to you. He had a mirror in his heart. It was different after he had money. This mirror is blurry and you can't see clearly. Everyone you see is very kind to you. Your eyes are dazzled and you can't tell them apart, so you might as well not tell them apart. People in the past may have been better and not so utilitarian, but people nowadays have no limits. A little puppy of 18 or 19 years old will flatter you every day, saying that he loves you to death, and loves you to the death. Get out of here and go home to feed yourself. You actually love Grandpa Mao. Who doesn't know? Tell me, Brother Zhang Chen, how come people today are so spineless? Thank you Tin Soldier for being third from top to bottom, for being 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, for being rewarded with 2 fishes for 1 fish, and for reading books every day. Thank you for your monthly votes for Flowers and Youths, Suyin Qingyang, The Setting Sun Shines on Mo Sheng Zipanjiang 1, Feng Konghu 1974, Hu, Shachin Mood, Love Purple. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 2308. It's raining. The raindrops hit the glass ceiling above the head and the flowers, grass, and leaves on the terrace, making a slight sound. The rain was not heavy, but it soon moistened the whole world. After being moistened, the world became slightly softer. The sound disappeared, and then there was the sound of water drops falling on the ground. The rain polished the whole world until it was shiny. The Wanled garden in front of me and the Shiuing port in the distance soon became covered with a thin layer of mist, becoming hazy. The drilling platform further away was now it is no longer visible, it is hidden behind the rain. Brother Zhang Chen, can I ask you a question? Jia said. You say. More than 20 years ago, when we lived in Yilan's house, did you ever think that you would be like this in the future? Jia asked. No, Zhang Chen said, my idea at that time was to be able to gain a foothold in the city. The bigger idea was probably that I could still make a fortune, but the idea of making a fortune was also hazy. How to make it and how to prepare. I don't even know how much wealth I will make. At that time, I probably thought that if I had my own car, I could fly to and from Hangzhou, and I could go whenever I wanted, and I wouldn't have to worry about the air ticket at all. I would have made a lot of money. Not only do I have no clear ideas about my own future, I also have very unclear ideas about this society. Who knew it would change so much? Jia nodded and smiled softly. Neither did I at that time, I just wanted to make money so that my younger brothers and sisters could study. No matter how much suffering and grievance I suffered, I just thought that when I wanted to send money to my family, I would be very satisfied if I had money to send. My dream is to make money and be able to go home and renovate the dilapidated house at home. Zhang Chen nodded and said yes, I don't even think that far ahead. The future is actually not something people can imagine. Step by step, we will reach the future. Brother Zhang Chen, do you know why Jianqiang and I always think you are a good person? Jia asked. Zhang Chen laughed and said, I don't know, I don't even know that I am a good person. You are, both you and Brother Zanzi, Jia said, at that time, you knew that I was doing that, but you didn't look down on us at all and kept helping us. You can see it from one person's eyes, you can tell whether he looks down on you or not. Some people pretend not to look down on you, but in fact, when he looks at you, his eyes are contemptuous. You don't. You look at us, talk to us, and eat together as if we are neighbors. You don't look down on us at all because of what we do. We ourselves, at that time, had eaten this meal and didn't know where our next meal would be, where we would be qualified, and we dared to look down on others, Zhang Chen said. No, some people are worse than you. In fact, he is actually a bastard himself, but he just likes to look down on others. There are too many such people, and he can always find his own sense of superiority. Even you later became the general manager of Wang Heilu. You were already a big shot in our eyes, but when you saw us, you didn't change at all. Brother Zanzi, too, at that time. Jia was silent as she spoke. After a while, she said, you are not such people. At that time, I slept with Zhangzi voluntarily. It was not that I liked him, but I was grateful to him from the bottom of my heart. You don't dislike me. It's not necessary, Zhang Chen said, you are right about one thing, Jia. We still treat you as neighbors and friends. We feel that since we all live together, we can help if we can. We don't think we can help you, what a loss, but later on, when times have changed, and I look back and think about it, I feel that it was really a beautiful memory, and I will cherish it even more than when we lived together. Yes, especially at that time, how many people can truly become friends, unlike now, where everyone wants to be your friend, but I know that I can't have new friends. Brother Zhang Chen, do you feel this way? Jia asked. Yes, Zhang Chen said, my best friends are all those people from the past who I know now. Jia, you are right. I can't see clearly anymore. Jia nodded. Jia, thank you, Zhang Chen said. Thank me? Why? Jia asked, a little confused. Thank you for what you did for Zhang Xiangbei, Zhang Chen said. It's not worth thanking. I really need to thank you. You go and thank Yilin. Jia said, how much energy do I have? I can handle this matter. I can still deal with those little brats in the hospital. If you want to, I definitely can't deal with that old man. Is it all Yilin's help? Zhang Chen asked. Yes, Yilin saw Bai at the police station last night and thought he looked very similar to you. He is from Hangzhou and his surname is Zhang, so he went to check the household registration information and found that he was indeed your son. He knew the one who was lying and injured in the hospital was that young master. Yilin knew that the old master was very difficult to deal with and he had to do some work. He came to me last night and told me the matter. Isn't it inconvenient for him to come forward? As soon as I heard that he was your son, of course I had nothing to say and I had to settle the matter. This kind of thing cannot be done in time. If it is delayed for a long time, the whole city will be in trouble, and everyone will be staring at it. Even Yilin can't do anything. There is a municipal bureau above the branch, and there is a provincial department above the municipal bureau. This morning, I took 2 people from society to the hospital. The 2 injured people, including the young master, agreed to go private without pursuing any further investigation. However, the old man of the young master had already gone to the hospital before us in the morning. After passing the hospital and coming out of the hospital, I went to Yilin's place and yelled for a while. When he got home, I rushed to his house to do his work. This old man was very stubborn. No matter what he said, he refused to pursue the case. He also said that the more you come to me, the more I will pursue it to the end, and finally kicked me out. I had no choice. I called Yilin and told him about the matter. At noon, Yilin took me to his house again. The old man still had the same attitude. In the end, Yilin also became angry and slapped the table. He shouted, I come to you today, not on behalf of the company, but on behalf of myself. Now, this is a personal matter between the 2 of us. It is your son who is lying in the hospital. Let me tell you honestly, the man who beat your son is the son of my eldest brother, a very dear brother. This man, I have made it clear to you, even though I have lost my hat. I want to protect you. Now I come to you to ask you to let him go for my own sake. If you are willing, I will thank you. If you are not willing. The dead old man asked, what if I don't agree? Yilin said, if you don't agree, it's very simple. The hatred between the 2 of us is considered to be a personal one. Even if I am not the director, I am still a police officer. Don't say you don't know what your son is. I can guarantee you that I can catch him 3 or 4 times a year and torture him to death. At that time, it would be useless for you to appeal to me, the King of Heaven. Even if I fight to the death, I will fight you to death. If you don't give me face, why should I give you face? I will do what I say. If you don't believe me, just give it a try. I am standing here, I am Fu Yilin, not Director Fu, this is what I, Fu Yilin, told you. The old man was frightened and knew that there was too much shit on his son's butt. Maybe it would happen to Yilin at some point. He finally agreed not to pursue the matter. This is the end of the matter. Zhang Chen felt very sad and said, Xiao Wu is right, Yilin looks so much like him. Yes, it's not easy for Yilin. He is where he is today because of his own efforts. When it comes to work, he is a life-threatening guy. If he hadn't been harmed by others, based on his ability and work performance, he would be. At least he is also the deputy director of the municipal bureau, Jia said. Ah, Zhang Chen was startled and asked, who killed Yilin? Who else is there? His bad boy dad, Jia said. What happened? Jia shook her head. His bad boy father ran away with the family's money and didn't come back for several years. When their area was about to be demolished, he came back. He wanted to live or die, and finally took the money. He paid half of the demolition compensation and disappeared again. It can be said that Yilin's mother was pissed to death by him. He didn't come back when Yilin's mother died. As a result, the year before last, he came back again. He ran out of money and didn't even have food to eat, so he came back to look for Yilin. What can Yilin do? No matter how bad he is also his father, so he can only let him live at home. But this old bastard, you said you were eating well and waiting to die, so forget it, but he didn't. He still wanted to spend money. He went to the shampoo room every day, and even the girl was so angry that he still didn't pay her. Called 110, but as soon as 110 came, he stretched out his hands and told people to handcuff me away quickly and ask Director Fu to pick me up. I am his biological father. The same thing happened when I was caught during the anti-pornography campaign. The first thing I said was that I was Director Fu's father. This made Yilin so angry that he was so embarrassed that even though he said he should be detained and a fine should be paid, Yilin paid the fine even more than a penny, but this matter was a joke in their entire system. Everyone knew that Yilin had such an obscure father. Tell me, did this have any impact on Yilin? Did he suffer miserably? What a bastard, Zhang Chen said. What should Yilin do now? It's better now, Jia said. Later, Jianqiang took his father's photo and distributed it to every mamasang in Haikan. He told them to open the eyes of the people below you. Next time, no one is allowed to take this old bastard's job. If anyone does, she will stop hanging out in Haikan. As a result, when he went there again, when people saw him, they stopped doing business and preferred to close the store and call. When people came to the door and saw it was him, they turned around and left. He is now in Haikan, and a young lady is here too. He couldn't find him, so he argued with Yilin every day, saying that he was not used to staying in Haikan and wanted to go to the county below, but Yilin ignored him and pretended not to hear. Thank you Brokeback Mountain for the tip. Thank you Lao Chen Tang, Zi Zhen Yu, and Book Friends 201703031958399050 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 2309. Brother Zhang Chen, how are you now? I mean at home, Jia asked. Okay, Zhang Chen said. I think so, I can see it, Jia said. Zhang Chen smiled and said, how can you tell this? You are not a fortune teller. I'm not a fortune teller, but I can just tell, Jia said, everything is stable for a man. His eyes are very fixed and will not wander. Also, when he is sitting there, his whole person it makes people feel very relaxed, and when they talk, they are just like you, unhurried. Zhang Chen laughed loudly, and Jia shouted, yes, there is still something like this, I will laugh very loudly and be very happy. Otherwise, Zhang Chen asked. Otherwise, that person will look very nervous. If he has something in mind, he will be very eager to show something and say something desperately. He is afraid that you don't know. As he talks, he will easily be unable to stop the car. The more he wants to, the more people believe him, the more he speaks, but as a result, others become more suspicious of what he says, Jia said. Zhang Chen still smiled and said, it seems you have done some research. Of course, there is a saying. I have read countless people. I have read countless men. How about a man? No matter how many clothes he wears, he is still naked in front of me. I can see clearly. Zhang Chen laughed and said, then should I hide? Jia giggled, no, please cover yourself with the blanket, it's a bit cold now. Although Zhang Chen didn't feel cold, he subconsciously pulled the blanket up. Jia looked at him with a smile. Au came over and walked to about 3 or 4 meters away from them. She stopped, coughed, and then continued to walk forward. She walked nearby and helped them change the tea leaves in the teapot first, and then put the tea in the kettle on the stove. Fill up the water and ask. Do you need a midnight snack? Jia looked at Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen said that he was not hungry yet. At the end, he immediately added, you can go to sleep. If you want to eat later, we will make it ourselves. Jia asked, can you do it? I can't. Zhang Chen said, of course, I run a hotel, so I have watched it for a while. Jia and Au said, then go to sleep. Au nodded towards them, turned and left. Jia looked back and saw Au walking away. She said to Zhang Chen, then I'll wait a minute. Even if I'm not hungry, I still have to say I'm hungry. The boss of food and drink will cook the food himself. This treatment is probably, not many people can enjoy it. Zhang Chen said yes, you can say it anytime. The rain had stopped at this time, and the light mist in front of me seemed to have been taken away all at once. The sky washed by the rain became particularly clear. Not only was the drilling platform in the distance back, Xiuying port they seemed to be very close, and even the sky above them became brighter, turning from black to gray, and half of the furry moon loomed in the clouds. Brother Zhang Chen, actually I have known you for a long time, Jia said. Oh, you know what? Where are you? Your business is so big. There are news and videos about you on the internet. You even go on TV to talk about those paintings. How could I not know? Although I don't understand those TV shows of yours, I watched every episode, Jia said. How could you not understand? Zhang Chen said with a smile. How could I understand? You are talking about paintings, Jia said. Yes, aren't you from Zhejiang University? How can you not understand painting? Jia chuckled, at that time, I didn't even know what Zhejiang University of Science and Technology was. I just heard you and Brother Ganza say, Zhejiang University of Science and Technology's Zhejiang University of Science and Technology, it sounded very high-end, so I thought he said that he was from Zhejiang American University, but later, I actually went to Zhejiang American Academy to see it, and that school was so beautiful. Have you been to Hangzhou? Zhang Chen asked. Of course, I have been to Hangzhou for business and meetings. Several big hospitals in Hangzhou are all customers of our company. How could I not have been there? Jia said, I have not only been to Hangzhou, I've also been to your Tuxianjiayuan hotel many times, some invited us, and some I invited them. No, Jia Zhang Chen shouted, you have been to Hangzhou and Tuxianjiayuan. You know that building is mine, right? You haven't even looked for me. Jia smiled softly and said a little mischievously, I just won't go, what's so great about you, hum? After a pause, Jia sighed and said, Brother Zhang Chen, actually I'm scared. Afraid? What are you afraid of? Zhang Chen asked doubtfully. Jia lowered her head and muttered, I'm afraid that you don't know me anymore. After all, after so many years, if you don't know me anymore, how embarrassing would it be? I'm also afraid that you are no longer the Zhang Chen brother in my heart. What I'm more afraid of is that you might misunderstand me. What's the misunderstanding? Zhang Chen asked, confused. I thought I was looking for you for some reason. If you were just a small boss or an ordinary person, I would definitely look for you, but you are already such a big boss and so famous. I'm looking for you. There must be a lot of people, and you are probably bored to death, trying to avoid these people every day. Say, if someone you haven't seen for many years suddenly comes to find you, would you immediately think about what purpose he has in coming to me? Jia asked. Zhang Chen tilted his head slightly, thought seriously for a while, nodded honestly, and said, yes, I will think so. It's a conditioned reflex to think so, but it doesn't mean anything. We are friends. We haven't seen each other for so many years. I will definitely be happy to see you. You just need my help. I thought come to me and I will still be happy. As mentioned before, we were friends first, and then, the following things happened after we became friends, and they cannot change the fact that we are friends. This is different from the people we met later. You are right. Many people you will meet later come with a purpose in mind when they approach you. I think it's not just me. You will definitely encounter this situation, and you will also encounter many people like this. For those people behind me, I will be on guard as a conditioned reflex. When they make requests, they would refuse, otherwise they would be extremely annoyed, and I have no obligation to help them. It's simple, because we have never become true friends. You are different. For example, I said, you and Jianqiang came from your hometown. The family is very difficult. Thinking of having such a former friend who is a boss in Hangzhou, you thought of coming to me. On the contrary, I will be very happy. If you don't have a job, I will help you arrange work. If you have any difficulties, I will also help you solve them. For me, these are all things within my ability. It is a little effort. It is a very happy thing to be able to help friends. Everyone has fewer and fewer friends in this world, not more and more. For many people, in the end, only family members are left. Isn't it right for those few rare friends to help their families like family members? Jia nodded and said, Brother Zhang Chen, what you said is very good. In fact, from the front, in their conference room in Yilin, the first time I saw you, I suddenly felt relieved and felt that you have not changed. Brother Zhang Chen, it's still Brother Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen smiled and said, how can you tell this? I can just tell. Didn't I tell you that from that time on, I felt very close to you? In fact, when I saw Bai Bei in the afternoon, I felt very close to him. Bai Bei is very similar to you, not only in appearance, but also in person. Bai Bei is very similar to the Zhang Chen brother I saw when I was at Yilin's house. He is my son, of course he is. Zhang Chen said with a smile that what he was thinking about was that he and Xiao Zhao were actually very similar. They were the same kind of people. Zhang Xiangbei left him to go to the United States. Fortunately, Xiao Fang was always by his side. Xiao Fang and Xiao Zhao's AKI is really similar. Probably, this is what keeps Zhang Xiangbei still acting like they are a family. A family sounds very simple, but in fact it is a very complex and difficult problem to solve. Some people are obviously a family, but when you look at them as a family of 3 or 4, each one is independent and has edges and corners. If they get too close to each other, they will bump into each other, and they will no longer feel like a family. When a family is together, their wings must be folded and their claws must be rolled inward. Only in this way, when severe cold or heavy snowfall comes, they will huddle together to keep each other warm and not hurt each other. When the sky is clear and the air is clear, there will be more space. Brother Zhang Chen, what are you thinking about? Jia asked. Zhang Chen smiled and said, suddenly I thought of something out of the ordinary. By the way, Jia, how did you end up doing medicine later? Jia said, it would be a long story to say. Don't be afraid of a long story, just tell me, Zhang Chen said. Jia looked at him and pursed her lips, but I'm hungry. Okay, I'll do it. Zhang Chen stood up, and Jia also jumped up and shouted. I'll help you. The two people walked into the kitchen. The kitchen was very large, with an area of more than 40 square meters. There were 2 side-by-side refrigerators inside. Zhang Chen smiled and said, this is too exaggerated. Jia, you are the only one, plus 2 people. Can an ant, or 3 people, use such a big kitchen and so many refrigerators? No, eating is the only hobby I have left. Can't I eat more and eat better? Jia pouted and said. Zhang Chen said yes, you are absolutely right. Jia giggled. Zhang Chen opened the refrigerator and took a look. It was neat and tidy inside. Even the vegetables that had not been eaten had been washed, packed in fresh keeping boxes and bags, and placed in the refrigerator. Zhang Chen asked Jia, "What do you want to eat?" "I want to eat your cooking and drink some wine, is that okay?" Jia asked. Zhang Chen said yes, but still like before, not very good at eating spicy food. Jia exclaimed happily, "You even remember this." "There is no progress, only a little bit." Zhang Chen said yes. Zhang Chen quickly prepared a dish. Jia twitched her nose and smelled it, saying, "It smells so good." She was about to take it out, and Zhang Chen said, "We'd better eat on the terrace." Jia nodded, just like we did before, in the corridor upstairs at Yilin's house. Zhang Chen cooked 4 dishes, and Jia moved a small table and placed it side by side with the coffee table in the middle of the 2 sofas, so that they could drink wine and tea at the same time. Jia knew that Zhang Chen didn't like drinking foreign wine. After taking a bottle of mutai, Zhang Chen sat down, rubbed his hands and said, "Okay, there's wine and food. I know, I'll have a story about me later, I won't be a simp." Jia giggled. "Thank you Brokeback Mountain for the reward of 2 fishes. Thank you for your monthly votes on the road, every day, just take a look at Aya, Zhongxin Ming Chen, Dong Long Dong, Lao Dibao Ei, Mr. SGN, Wind and Wing, Book Friends 1610040753540005, Book Friends 1604161453411126. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 2310. After the real estate bubble burst in Heiken, the entire Heiken seemed to be dead. It was really desolate and mournful. No industry or person has ever been independent of this society. With the real estate collapse, Heiken, and even the entire Hainan Island, everyone the industry has been affected, and everyone has been affected. Jia and Jianqiang were persuaded by Yilin's mother not to leave Hainan. They stayed at Yilin's house with no money in their pockets. Fortunately, they still had a place to live and a place to eat. They had food and shelter. Individuals can settle down temporarily in one place. The off-the-plan properties cannot be speculated, and they don't have any other skills. Even those who have skills can't find jobs in Heiken at that time, let alone them. Every company is in turmoil and laying off people. The East Lake sign wall is there. There are crowds of people every day, but they are all looking for jobs, not recruiting. The recruitment notices posted on the wall were dated more than a week ago, and the ink has faded. Several of the recruitment notices have one corner hanging down, like broken flags, fluttering in the wind. If there are no recruiting units, there will be no income. The security here has also been withdrawn. The small house that used to undertake recruitment business on the site has also been closed and left. There is a piece of paper on the door saying that there is recruitment business. Go directly to the number of Long Bipo and contact the Talent Recruitment Market Talent Information News. Jianqiang and Jia went to the recruitment wall and found the 2 closest ones. They were recruiting hotel waiters, chefs, and handymen. Jia could be a waiter, but Jianqiang was not qualified to be a chef, so he should be able to be a handyman. 2 people ran over. The first one said that it had already filled up its staff, but now it was too many and was laying off employees. The other one had simply closed down. The 2 of them returned home, hugging each other and crying. They felt that the future was uncertain and they didn't know how they could survive in the city. Although Yilin's mother was very kind and polite to them, they were embarrassed and had been living in other people's houses and eating for free. The 2 of them discussed it over and over again. Although Jia was very disgusted, they had no choice. The only thing they could do now was to return to their old jobs. Jia made ding dong, and Ji Unqiang went to the lobby and entrance of every hotel to solicit customers. But at that time, almost every hotel in Haikan was crowded with people at the door. It used to be that so many people flocked to Haikan, all coming to find gold, with the dream of getting rich overnight. Now, this city has already, if he is dead, gold diggers will naturally avoid him. There weren't any decent companies in Haikan to begin with. Most of them were real estate companies. It was like a general cleaning. They were cleaned up overnight. Those who were lucky enough not to be dumped fled back to the mainland. There is no business at all in the city. The few tourists who go to the island come directly from Sanya and will not transfer to Haikan. Haikan is not only dead, but has also become a deserted place. In forgotten corners, every hotel is empty. Business was really difficult at that time, Jia and Zhang Chen said. Sometimes it took 2 or 3 days, sometimes a week to receive a customer. Think about it, even people in this industry were unemployed. At that time, how miserable is Haikan? Business is difficult to do, and there are more dangers of all kinds. The joint defense team will make things difficult for you, the hotel security guards will make things difficult for you, and the bad guys in society will also make things difficult for you. They all have the same purpose. Then just to get benefits from you. If you satisfy them all, then the customers you accept will be for nothing. Giving them all the money is not enough. Ji Unqiang and Jia must be sneaky when looking for guests, and they must also be sneaky when meeting guests. Ji Unqiang was sitting in the lobby of the hotel. When he saw a target, he didn't dare to talk to him in the lobby, so he could only, when you see him going upstairs and entering the elevator, follow him and talk business with them in the elevator or in the passage of the guest room upstairs. This won't last long. There is surveillance in the elevator, and the security guard in the surveillance room can still see Ji Unqiang coming down from upstairs. The elevator door opens, and the security guard is already standing at the door. Later, Ji Unqiang could only sit in the lobby, looking for a good target. When he saw him going out, he followed him out and discussed business with him outside. However, the security guards at the gate were also watching. As soon as he saw Ji Unqiang, when Qiang came in, they noticed that they didn't want Ji Unqiang's cigarettes, so they said that Ji Unqiang was not interesting enough. The meaning was obvious, that he didn't share the benefits with them. Ji Unqiang didn't even go into the lobby, he just waited outside the hotel. When guests came out, he would go up and talk to them. In this way, the possibility of success was very low. Think about it, a person from out of town would not live here. I'm familiar with it. If a person comes up out of nowhere and you talk to him about this kind of thing, why shouldn't he be frightened? Who knows if you are dancing like a fairy or fishing? Most people waved their hands and ran away as soon as they heard this. It was much more difficult to talk to them than talking to them in the hotel lobby. In the hotel lobby, he lived here and inexplicably felt like he was half the owner here, so he would be very relaxed. Ji Unqiang later thought of a way, that is, he would have a relationship with the girls at the hotel front desk. Comparatively speaking, these girls at the hotel front desk are not as fierce as security guards. You buy them late night snacks, or sometimes, you give them directly. 50 yuan for 2 or 3 people, let them buy midnight snacks by themselves, and they will be very happy. If they have a good relationship with them, they will write down the room number on a piece of paper when a man comes on a business trip, or if there are a few guests, but everyone stays in a room, and when Ji Unqiang comes, they will secretly give it to them. He can't be at the front desk yet because he's afraid of being seen by security. Ji Unqiang went in and shouted to the security guard at the gate, telling him to go in and use the restroom. Then he walked into the restroom and was dawdling at the sink outside. After a while, a waiter at the front desk deliberately, when he came to the bathroom, he thrust the note into his hand and ducked into the women's bathroom, just like a spy. Ji Unqiang got the note, ran outside to find a public phone, pressed the room number on it, and called the rooms one by one to discuss business. In this way, the success rate began to increase. Jianqiang was so sneaky when attracting guests, and Jia was also sneaky when meeting these guests. When she arrived at the hotel entrance, she would either take advantage of the security guard to direct the guests to park their cars, or when there were many guests, she would hide among the guests and go in with her head down. Entered the elevator, also with his head lowered. The security guards all knew Jia and knew what she was going to do upstairs. Still uneasy, Jia kept an eye out. If a guest lived on the 8th floor, she would take the elevator to the 7th or 9th floor, and then walk up one floor. Fortunately, in the hotel at that time, there was nothing else in the hotel except the elevator. There was no surveillance anywhere, unlike now. If it were like now, even this trick would be useless. There were very few people coming in and out, and the guests were waiting in the room. When Jia was about to enter the hotel, Jianqiang went to the door of the hotel, handed a cigarette to the security guard to smoke, and then chatted with him there, talking about how the hell business is going now. It's so bad that the security guard also complained, saying that we don't even have bonuses now, damn it. While they were smoking and chatting, Jia slipped in quietly from behind the security guard. Was it like being a spy again? Damn it, brother Zhang Chen, I won't lie to you. At that time, I had to learn to be a thief before I could be a ding-dong. What a worldly thing Jia and Zhang Chen said. The most terrifying thing is not these, but peers. The competition among peers is naked. With just a little business, one customer rarely calls several customers in one night. If you do it, others will not have to do it. Everyone is staring at each other, they usually work in this industry, and they are all in and out of the hotel. Even though they don't know each other, they all look familiar to each other. When she sees you going in and going upstairs, someone will look at the elevator. When she sees which floor you are going to, she will follow you up. Then she will stick to each door and listen to what is going on inside. When she knows which room you are in, she will go downstairs and go out. When we got to the hotel, we found a public phone and called the police. The police, especially the police assisting police, liked arresting people like us the most. They came right after receiving the call. Scary, right? Jia asked, picking up the wine glass and draining the wine in one gulp. That's it, just surviving in the cracks. Jia looked at Zhang Chen and continued to say to him. Later, it was Jianqiang who went to find those mommies. There was usually a mommy behind every ding-dong. Mommies did the job of soliciting customers like Jianqiang. They also worked in hotels and knew each other well. Later I found out that Jianqiang, the bastard, was also their customer. He would take care of their business from time to time and they would give him discounts. Jianqiang warned them, if you want to do this, then everyone should stop doing it. If you want to die, we will all die together. I also know the few of your men. I also went to the hotel to guard them. When I saw them going up, I also went call 110, that's it, a balance of terror, so that the world will be a little more peaceful. But there are still those who talk nicely on the surface but make trouble secretly. Anyway, the calls are anonymous. You don't know who called them, as long as you don't catch them on the spot. When Jia was about to go upstairs, Jianqiang was waiting downstairs. When he saw a police car or a joint defense team car approaching, Jianqiang would immediately button up Jia. As soon as Jia heard the button, no matter what she was doing, she would immediately, if you don't have time to put on your clothes, just wear the hotel's bathrobe and remember to take your bag with you. Jianqiang and Jia said that if there is a side staircase, run to the side staircase. If there is not, take the safe passage. Remember, do not run down. They are likely to have someone guarding the lobby, so you must run up. Got upstairs and tried to hide. After they left, Ji Unqiang would go upstairs to find her. Ji Unqiang also told Jia, remember, when you enter the room, show your ID card to the other person, let the other person remember your name, and you also remember the other person's. If you can't escape and are caught, just say that you are in love or having a tryst, and they will definitely ask you about the other person's name and where they met. You can ask the other person to tell you a familiar place in Hiken, and you can just remember it. Thank you for the monthly votes of Wooden Floor HD, No Future, Remember the Original Intention, Mid-Autumn Festival, Yuengzi, Book Friends 1505161323336392. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 2311. More than a year passed like this, and the dead Hiken seemed to be slowly coming back to life. Although at that time, houses costing 300 to 400 yuan per square meter were everywhere in Hiken, and no one had bought them yet, but people who came from the mainland, the number of people gradually began to increase. Hiken, who was beaten to the ground by the real estate, began to heal himself and regained a little strength. Jia met the boss of a pharmaceutical factory from Zhejiang. This boss liked Jia very much, who was from Zhejiang. He had a meeting in Hiken for 3 days, and Jia had to accompany him for 3 days. She not only slept with him at night, but also stayed with him. Eat, have late night snacks, go to the crater to play, eat dongyang hot pot there and so on. The boss was holding a postcard with frayed corners. This was a very famous postcard in Hainan in the past. Most coconut trees grow tall and straight. The coconut tree in the photo is curved and slanted. Stretching diagonally towards the sea, there is a white sandy beach below, with the green sea and blue sky in the background. That's right, Zhang Chen said, I also had this postcard before. At that time, it was all my impressions of Hainan. When I was in Wenzhou, I even painted the scenery for the photo studio, and what I painted was this postcard: sunshine, beach, blue sea, blue sky, coconut grove. Indeed, all the elements of tropical ocean scenery are present in this postcard. Right? Jia smiled softly. The boss came to Hainan for the first time. He said that his dream since childhood was to find the place in the postcard. Jia looked at the postcard and told him that she knew where it was, but it was not in Hiken, but in Wenchang. This was the coconut grove in the eastern suburbs of Wenchang. She had been there. The boss was very happy after hearing this and insisted that Jia take him there. They rented a taxi and went to the coconut grove in the eastern suburbs of Wenchang and found this coconut tree. They also stayed in Wenchang for 1 night. The two people have been together for a long time, and they have definitely talked more. During the communication, Jia told him that she actually didn't like being a ding-dong, but there was nothing she could do about it. He has read no books and has no other abilities. Nowadays, when employers recruit workers, they all have to graduate from college. There is definitely no one looking for someone like her. The most she can do is work as a waiter in a restaurant, but to be honest, she is unwilling to do so. Not to mention the hard work, the main reason is that I don't make much money. Jia said that she was also very distressed, not knowing where her future was and what she could do in the future. The boss, after listening to Jia, said that in fact, a diploma cannot explain everything about a person. He has never gone to college. Now he has become the boss of a pharmaceutical factory. As long as you work hard and can afford the hardship, you can actually do it. Take control of your own destiny. He told Jia that although Jia did not have a diploma, she had advantages that others did not have. Jia asked him what his advantages were. The boss told her that you are different from other women who do this. You said you were not from Zhejiang, America, but I really thought you were from Zhejiang, America. What does it mean? It means that you look good. Really like a college student. Gia laughed when she heard this. She said that was because her former neighbors were from Zhejiang American University and Zhejiang University. She had been with them for a long time and listened to what they said a lot, so she probably got a little angry. Gia's words made Zhang Chen feel embarrassed. He said, "We are both fakes. We are not from Zhejiang American and Zhejiang University. We are also deceiving others." Gia looked at Zhang Chen and said seriously, "No, brother Zhang Chen, you are from Zhejiang America. You are better than Zhejiang America. You are from Zhejiang America. Can they go to CCTV to give lectures? I think you are better than those professors. Everything is better. Really, at that time, when I was with guests, I would often imitate your speech." Zhang Chen laughed loudly and said, thank you for the compliment. Okay, I won't interrupt you, you can continue." The boss and Gia said that you have another advantage, that is, when you come into contact with people, people will quickly like you. Don't get me wrong, not all beautiful girls will make people like you. It feels like some girls are beautiful, but they are so beautiful that they will be hummed if they are hummed. This is the boss's exact words. He said that those kind of girls are just over after being hummed. They were looking forward to it before they were hummed, but after they were hummed, they felt that it was nothing more than that, so they just wanted them to leave and didn't want to stay together. Anyway, in Haikan, there are many beautiful girls. On the other hand, this kind of beauty is actually so beautiful that it has no merit at all. You are different. The boss and Gia said that you will make people feel close to each other and they want to be with you for a longer time. This is why I never changed girls in Haikan. Don't underestimate this. People will have a good impression of you. This is a great advantage of people. For example, when we go out to discuss business, if you are a very annoying person, when people see you, they will want you to get out and don't want to spend more time with you. Talk about it, how can you continue to discuss this business? If you have this advantage, you must use it. This is something you have and others don't have. If you can use this advantage, you can succeed. The boss told Gia that if you really don't want to do this and want to find a job, he has a job in hand, and he believes that Gia can definitely do it well. As soon as Gia heard this, she quickly asked what the job was. The boss told her that this was the first time she heard the term medical representative. The boss told Gia that he came to Haikan this time, firstly, for a meeting, and secondly, to see if it was possible to expand the Hainan market. At present, no good candidates have been found locally. If Gia is willing, she can try to be the medical representative of their pharmaceutical company in Hainan. Gia asked him what a medical representative did. The boss told her that they promoted the drugs from their factory to hospitals and asked the hospitals to purchase their drugs. The medical representatives would commission based on the sales of the drugs. The more they sold, the higher their income would be. The higher. The basic salary of a medical representative is 500 yuan per month. In addition, there are 3,000 yuan in business expenses per month for the first 3 months. This fee is not for you, but for you to treat people to dinner. You need to submit an invoice for reimbursement. When reimbursing, you must clearly indicate who you are asking for. If you don't make any progress in 3 months, it means that you are really not suitable for this. If you start doing it, your income will not be less, and your future business expenses will be proportional to your business volume. Reimbursement can be said to be that the bigger your business is, the easier it will be. Why? If you have more business expenses, it will be more convenient to treat guests and give gifts. Gia said, I have never sold anything before, and I don't know how to sell this medicine. My boss told me that in fact, this matter is complex, and simple, very simple. In a small hospital, you only need to get the director to get your medicine into his hospital. In a large hospital, you can get your medicine into his hospital. Generally, The dean does not care about this matter, but there is a special deputy dean who is in charge of it. As long as you get the vice dean and the chief of the pharmacy department, they can decide this matter. Take a look, I told you earlier, why people have a good impression of you is your advantage. Doing this job is actually to build a good relationship with people. When the relationship is done well, things will be settled. Gia thought about it for a while. This thing didn't sound difficult, and there were no diploma requirements. It was just about dealing with people. The deans and vice deans of the hospital were basically all men. It was difficult to deal with men. Nothing difficult. Gia immediately agreed to her boss that she could try to be a medical representative. The boss said, "It's not about trying, it's about doing it well. No matter what you do, if you have the attitude of giving it a try, you won't be able to do it well, because if you haven't done it yet, you will leave yourself with a way out. If you encounter difficulties, when the time comes, you will not look back and think about how to overcome difficulties, but will turn around and run away. Only with a burnt-out attitude can you get things done." Gia felt that what her boss said made sense, so she said, "Okay, I agree to be this medical representative, and I promise to do a good job." When they said this, they were talking in the restaurant upstairs in Wanghai building. After the meal, the boss gave Gia all the money that should have been given to Gia, including tonight's money. Gia followed the boss upstairs. The boss gave her a lot of information, including introductions to their factory's medicines. He told Gia, "Even if you sell pots, you must let people know that this pot is for cooking, right? It is the minimum for a medicine seller to know what disease the medicine is used to treat, right?" Gia nodded. The boss told Gia, "You can go back." Gia was surprised and asked, "You don't want me to accompany you tonight?" The boss told her that from now on, you are the medical representative of our factory and a member of our factory. You are already my employee. I can't sleep with you or eat grass on the side of my bed. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep with you anymore. If you don't do well this time, I won't even have the shame to criticize you. You may also feel that you have such a relationship with your boss. It doesn't matter if you do well or not. Anyway, if you don't do well, you can just sleep with your boss. In this way, how can you do well? You remember, from today on, we only have a working relationship, a superior-subordinate relationship, and no other relationships." "Yes, this boss is very knowledgeable and has self-control," Zhang Chen said. Gia nodded and said, "Yes, he taught me a lot. We have been very good friends ever since, but we have never had any other relationship." Zhang Chen sighed and said, Gia, it is rare for you to meet such a boss. Which pharmaceutical factory in Zhejiang is this?" "It's better not to know, brother Zhang Chen. He has done a lot now. Only he knows and I know these things. Now that you also know about it, there is no need to know who he is," Gia said. Zhang Chen said, "Yes, you are right, Gia." Gia said to the boss, "But you have already given me all the money tonight." The boss smiled and said, "Let's just treat it as a greeting gift." Gia was about to leave. The boss told Gia, "You won't be here at night, but I'm such a good person that I won't be able to sleep by watching an empty bed. In this way, when I go down, you can help me call someone up and call you my little sisters are okay too." Gia said yes. She went to the lobby downstairs and saw a familiar girl sitting there, so she asked her if she had received any guests today. The girl said no, so Gia asked the girl to go to the boss's room upstairs. Gia gave the girl tonight's money and told her not to ask others for money again. The girl agreed. The boss had already given her tonight's money. Gia felt that it was not what she deserved, so she paid for the boss. "Thank you, Tin Soldier, for the reward of 2 fishes, 1 up and 1 down. Thank you for your monthly votes from Suddenly Mom, Ming Xin, Little Brother Who Eats Fish, Sunset Zhao Mo Shen, Zipanjiang 1, Zongkai 727, Bobo Chuangshi, Zhao 1017, Shadust Mood, Not Impossible World, Book Friends 20220324185843375. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health.